Before we install Windows 3.0, and subsequently 3.1, we'll go over some of the hardware. If you can see here, this isn't done yet, but I'll probably put it to the side. I've gotten a lot of the yellowing off of this one, but I'm deciding that I might swap it out for this drive I have here. Then I found this optical drive because I have multiple of them, and I'm thinking I might just go through the optical drives that I haven't installed and I haven't used yet and see what's inside them. This one probably doesn't have anything, but we'll just see. Sadly, this one has nothing. I expected that. Though there was one time that I did open a drive and had something in it. It was just one of two of great games for Windows 98. So on to installing this guy. This is actually a 5 1/4 and 3.5 inch combined drive. Another thing is this one has a manufacturing date of 93. I think this one is either an early 94 or late 93, so it fits right into the time frame. Since I apparently seem to love to take drive bays out of this computer repeatedly, I'll need to take this new old floppy out and clean it because the read heads are dirty. So instead I have this all discombobulated, but I'll still get to what I'm trying to do, which is set up MS-DOS 3.0 on top of set up Microsoft Windows 3.0 on top of MS-DOS 6.0. So we will take our diskette for MS-DOS 6.0. I haven't tested these diskettes, so I don't know if they're good. Hopefully they should work. Oh, I upgraded the hard drive also. I threw in a 1.2 gigabyte, which actually, it was the drive that was in it. Apparently, this was 486 SX 33 megahertz, but I think somewhere along the lines my family upgraded it, so that's why. And this looks better. I just need to clean this yellowing. I need to get a new drive probably. I mean, it works, but I need to get a new old one. Anyway, so family upgraded it. They put in a new processor. So I don't even think that's a 486. I mean, I don't think that's an SX, that is. I think it's probably a DX2 or DX4. I can't seem to get the cooler off of it because this drive here, without shorting it out, this drive here is like glued to the top of the chip, so I don't know what chip it is. But there are jumpers that say 4X or 3X and turbo on off, which I'm guessing that jumper is for the turbo button, which is not installed in this one. Turbo button would traditionally go here next to the reset. So, preparing MS-DOS 6.0 to set up. Press enter. Continue setup. Actually, we're going to exit, and we're going to do, if I can spell, fdisk. And tell it to do drive C. Oh. I'm a little bit rusty. Well, we need to boot back into it. Apparently you can't use the F-disk from 6.0 on a 6.22 installation. So I'm going to have to do an F-disk using 6.22, then prepare it using 6.0, install 6.0, install 3.0, Windows that is, and then upgrade from there. My plan is to do an upgrade of 3.0 to 3.1, just because I can. Here we are. So now let's go and delete a partition. 3, delete. Delete primary. Yes, enter. I'm sure. Partition deleted. Now, create primary, maximum available. Oh. No, I don't know. This might work. Because I just used F-disk from 6.22. I'm going to install 6.0. I don't know if it'll be compatible. I hope it is. I've sort of cleaned up my desk. This stuff needs to be taken care of because I'm currently working on a system. It's all discombobulated, but once it's all done, it should be pretty clean. Well, cleaner. It was really messy before. Yeah, that seems about correct. So enter. Yeah, that's good. I'm a little bit unhappy with this floppy drive. It works, but it's like it looks... the way I cleaned it, which is probably people won't like this, is I used fine grit sandpaper and I sanded it down until it was white. But some of this, the yellowing is so permanent that I have to go and scrape all the plastic off. And what's happened underneath is I've cut it so close to the plastic that it started to crack. And I'm not happy about that. And that's why I wanted to have this drive work. And I'll probably do a video on how to clean it. But currently, this drive is not working, neither of them, because it's doing a general write failure. Error. But this CD-ROM drive is the one that came with it. Okay, back up. The CD-ROM that was in it was... Now, where did I put it? Oh, is this drive here. It's all falling apart right now. But it's the Sound Blaster, Creative Sound Blaster 1. And my computer restarted. That's lovely. Okay, set up disk 2. Doing this one-handed. The copy of Windows 3.0 which I'll be using is this copy. No, that's a chair, this copy. And if you're part of the computer group, the Retro PCs and Retro Computer, and then in parentheses Gaming group on Facebook, you'd already seen these. The story about this is that, I don't know if you can see with the light, there we go. You can see the faint big 3. The reason why 3 was put over there was because there was a typo, and I've scraped this, not scraped, but I've peeled it up carefully. Apparently whoever did the labeling for this batch of diskettes, and probably way more diskettes, maybe like a couple hundred until they realized it, was they put, instead of 3.00, they put 3.333. And anyone in computer know-how knows that there was no edition of Windows ever created that was Windows 3.3. The last version that was created was technically Windows 3.12, but that was for the Chinese market. The last version of Windows produced, it was 16-bit with 3 as its numbering, was 3.11. They never even made it up to 3.2. Well, not never, they chose to stop using that naming scheme. I've always wondered, what's MS backdoor? MS BCKDR. Is it backup drive? It always looks like MS backdoor, which isn't really a good, name to be naming a system file. Were there 3 diskettes or 4? I don't remember. Well, let's hope it's 3, because I only have 3. No, it's 3. Are these 1.2 megabyte? Oh, okay, high density, so it's 1.44. It's 1. Won't focus. There we go, 1.44. It says plus enhanced tools. So I don't know if they installed separately or they're just bundled. Or it's just to make you think that you got a better deal. So eject floppy drive before restarting. Now to drop them on the ground. No. Now to install Windows. But before we do that, we need to do one little modification. You're probably looking at this if you can read it, because it's not wanting to focus. Okay, you're probably looking at this going, why does he have a Windows 95 boot diskette? Well, those of you in the audience that know what I'm going to do, or do you know what I'm going to do? Those that do not, will find out. As you know, this has a CD-ROM drive. Well, without specific drivers, you cannot access the CD-ROM drive. So what we will be doing is we will be taking my boot diskette, which contains CD-ROM drivers, and then installing those drivers so we can access the CD-ROM, so then we can later, if it'll open, then later we can install 3.11, which comes on a CD-ROM. Why, you ask? Because the copy which I have is 3.11 for Windows Workgroups, which contains extra programs and extra drivers, and thus meeting the CD-ROM format. Because as early as the earliest CD-ROM drive I have is 1991. So CDs in audio format have existed since the 80s. CDs with data have existed since the early 90s. So, in 1993, while it was expensive, a couple $100 to $1,000 to get a CD-ROM drive, Microsoft thought it would be more lucrative for them to include or package Windows 3.11 for Workgroups on a CD, because that was a business-oriented version of Windows 3.1. So they figured that businesses and people that ran their own business would have enough money to pay for that specialty copy of Windows. So we will now install the CD-ROM drivers, and it'll ask us, do you want to install it in Windows 95 mode or DOS mode? Install drivers using AutoEXE or using DOS start. So we're going to do F1 to continue, and since we're only using DOS, we're going to use AutoEXE. Now it's going to copy everything. It's now created a folder called CD-ROM, and it's backed up our AutoEXE and config.sys. Even though this is a new installation, it is to make sure that if anything goes wrong, we'll be able to revert back. So now we're going to exit the program, and it'll dump us at a command line. And then we're going to eject and reboot so we have a clean boot. And then we will insert disk 1 for Windows 3.3. Okay, Windows 3.0. That was a typo. So type setup. This has 5 diskettes, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see. Welcome to setup. The setup program will install Windows version 3.0. Learn how to use. Let's press enter. So we're going to name it default. And let's check this out. This is VGA. Correct. Actually, okay, so it doesn't have a driver for it. We're gonna, for now, do no network installed. It does have a network card. If you can see there, it's a hard modem, not a soft modem, meaning it uses interrupts and I'm forgetting the other ones. It's IRQ and DMA. So it uses IRQs and DMAs, and it's an ISA slot 1. So it doesn't use software to control it. It uses jumpers and config switches. So above list matches my computer to some point. These diskettes were in the box of floppy drives that were in my relative's closet. Actually, it was a desk drawer. So I am to assume that these are in good condition and work. I mean, they weren't put into, they weren't exposed to harsh elements or anything. Just have to be really careful with these. I mean, these aren't like unobtainium, but they are pretty hard to get now. I mean, you can find them on eBay, but to find a good working copy, a known working copy, is difficult because hold on. I guess I must have jinxed it or something. Because now this diskette is not reading. Might be the drive, might be the diskette drive. I mean, might be the disk, might be the drive. This is not going well. It's the next day now, and come to find out that MS-DOS 6.0 has a limit of 310 megabyte hard drives, to my knowledge, if the drive consists of 1024 cylinders. But the problem is the drive I'm using is a 2 gigabyte, and I know that won't work. I'll probably swap it out, and it has 4960 cylinders. Long story short, I had to change a setting in BIOS until it was a 993 megabyte hard drive. Then MS-DOS views it as a 540 megabyte hard drive, I believe. So I have to go and reinstall all of it. But luckily I found the installation file, so it shouldn't take that long to get everything all set up. We're going to do as you've seen before, it's going to format the drive, etc. I'll be back when this finishes. I may have gotten confused between the versions of Windows. I think when I said what I said before about large drive support, I think I was thinking about Windows NT 3.5 and 4.0 and 4.1, I think, because they introduced NTFS, but along with that, they had FAT32 support, which supported up to, I think a theoretical 128 gigabytes. Don't quote me on that. So I was thinking of Windows NT earlier versions, which looked similar to Windows 3.1. The traditional format, or formula, so to speak, that I use when setting up an MS-DOS computer is to first install MS-DOS, obviously, and then I take my boot diskette, which is universal, but it has a Windows 95 command.com, and then I install the CD drivers. Then I reboot, and I insert the Windows installation CD, whichever version I'm installing, whether or not it's a bootable one for Windows 95, 98, or if it's just a navigate to the drive and you then do run setup. For a computer like this, even though it has a Pentium 4, not Pentium, even though it has a 486DX 144 megahertz, I think, with 15 megabytes RAM, I will not be installing Windows 95. I'll be installing Windows 3.1 for work groups, as I did in the previous part of this video. I know you've already seen this before, but for just redundancy, we'll go over install CD-ROM driver, F1 to continue. We're going to tell it to go into AutoEXE because it's not Windows 95. And now we have our installation CD, no duh. It copies the files over. Now we have completed, so we will exit the program, but first we will eject the drive, and then reset. We'll open this, and put in our system CD, or master CD as some people say. Close it up. Go to D. We don't type setup, we type install. Naming the installation program setup was not introduced until Windows 95. We've already seen this before, but I wonder if I can... I've chosen not to tell it where the custom driver for the video is because we need to install that separately and I don't want to mess up the installation. It's an MS-DOS. It is .38646 system, and it's American VGA, accept. It's going to copy everything in lightning speed. I have a network card, as I said before, but it isn't detected. Again, there's no product number because Microsoft messed up when they copied over the installation files to a CD. Continue. We don't need a printer. This is 496 megabytes free. We'll just do a continue. It goes and installs everything. I think the first time I used Windows 3.1 was when I was 5 or 6. And then when I was 7 or 8, we got a Windows 95 computer. And then when I was 10 or 11, I used my grandma's computer as an all-in-one, I want to say gateway. Probably a gateway, considering we buy everyone gateways. And I think it ran Windows ME. Or 98, I don't know, but I do remember getting on the internet and watching Flash videos, you know, the Macromedia Flash, like cartoons from Cartoon Network. I remember playing the Cartoon Network Beach Island or Beach Hunt game that they had. And yeah, it was pretty fun, and when you think about it back then, oh, and also using AOL. I used AOL to get to CartoonNetwork.com and Nickelodeon. And I would do the Nickelodeon Nick Clickables also, and the Nickelodeon, well, Nick Clickables were downloadable, but the Nickelodeon games, we'll now take our diskette and put it in my box of floppies, which I need to organize because they're all falling over. And then let's just install our video drivers quickly. G drive. This is for the Cirrus Logic onboard chip. Okay, install. No. There should have been, well actually I'll go over to our C drive. Okay, Windows 3.1. Run the installer. Windows is located there, so I'm going to copy over all our nice video drivers. Now it's been added to Program Manager, so we just close this, set res. We're going to leave it at 800, 600, 256. And we're going to not restart. What we'll do is we'll manually restart. So we'll do a close. And then we'll do Win to start back up. It's nice and pretty. Close it. Now over here, control panel. Go to desktop. Wallpaper. And set it to Windows logo tiled. Now that's nice. The next thing we'll do is we will install our sound system drivers. The sound system comes with multiple programs, but the diskette 1 actually contains the base drivers, and that's all we need. So we'll exit out of here, go to A drive, and we're gonna get this set up. And we'll install just the minimal drivers. Continue, that's fine. Continue, software. Do custom. This is just what we need, the system software. I should probably turn my speakers on. Last time I did this, there was an IRQ conflict. Something about installing the sound drivers, and it hangs. And I've done that's what's really annoying. Maybe something to the way Windows treats automatic restarts. But that's really disappointing, because I've just done a clean install. I mean, anyone out there in the comments, if you could leave a suggestion. I've checked the RQs, I checked the COM ports, I checked resources, I've disabled the communication ports on the motherboard. I've removed the modem. And there it goes. It hangs 9 times out of 10. So all you have to do is you do a restart, you go over to sound system folder, and you have to change the settings. But I don't know. Do this. This is probably going to be a really long video, that even after editing it'll be long. Because there's some stuff I can cut down, but it's really frustrating when you install it and it just doesn't work. Just removing the drivers. Maybe under... So it copies it? Oh. Oh, I have to change it to the A drive. There we go. And maybe it's the card. But it's the card that came. It's the sound card that came with the computer. So that's sort of frustrating. Don't let that fool you. It's probably going to crash next time we restart. But yeah, something about resources that it doesn't like to play nice. So now let's just set this up like we normally do. And we'll bring this down here. And we will do a copy of Mr. File Manager to Startup. And then under Accessories, we'll copy Mr. Clock to Startup. And we'll close this. Arrange the icons, okay. And then I'll have this all nice, and we'll see how much space is left. So on C drive, we have 458 megabytes free. I don't think we need this folder anymore. So we'll just go over and delete the folder. Okay. We don't need the Power Manager, so we'll do a delete of Power Manager. And now we have our sound system and all that fun stuff. Let's close out of here. We now have a total of 486 megabytes free. Let's do a exit of that. And yeah, this is the reinstallation of the Windows 3.1 for workgroups. The next section of this video will be me installing some software that I used to play. I finally got it configured. Long story short, here's what you need to do. When you insert the installation diskette 1, and you run the startup program, which I've copied over, when you run it, and click continue, what you have to do is you have to go, cancel, you have to click on board. And when you click on it for the first time, it will give you an option of auto or manual. Remember to do this before you've installed any drivers. One caveat is, let's exit, is that under Control Panel, when you first set up, at least on this system, when you first set up Windows 3.11, under, I know Control Panel, under, here it is, in Control Panel, when you first set it up, it will scan your hardware. And maybe it's to do with the fact that I had the card installed when I installed Windows, but it'll scan your hardware and populate the device manager or drivers applet, and it will have as default timer, MCI MIDI, MCI sound. It won't have MIDI mapper, it won't have Windows sound system, it won't have audio compression mapper. But it'll have these these three, timer, sequencer, and sound. And when you go to run the installer for the drivers, it will assume that, and this is logic failure on the part of the software developers, it will assume that you've already installed it, which now you're probably thinking, if you're installing the program to install the drivers, that would mean you don't have drivers. But you can also use this program to configure after the fact, so possibly they left that in thinking that, oh, maybe you've already installed it. Anyway, it thinks you've installed it, so it doesn't prompt you to install specific parts. So what I'm trying to get to, while being confusing, is in order to install this software properly, you need to go over to Control Panel, Drivers, and delete everything there, everything. You'll only have timer, MIDI, and sound, but you need to delete everything and have it completely blank. Then you have to go over to, with the diskette in, you have to either go over to your diskette drive A or the program group and click on the setup. We'll initialize, click continue, continue, and before you install anything, don't even click the software button. Before you install anything, click board. And it'll say, do you want to do auto or manual? When you do auto, do auto. And it'll auto select, because if you don't have it auto detect your DMA and IO port and IRQ, it will pick non-existent ones. That then, when you go to do manual, it will have already assigned the available ones to system devices. But the catch is, you can't disable the system devices because they're integral to the system. But the sound card won't work because the system devices are using the resources. So you have to run the automatic configuration for the board before you install the drivers. As I said before, when you click on it, board, it'll ask auto or manual. Do auto. Then reboot. You have to reboot. And then you can select it. I've chosen to do DMA 1 because if the IRQs, the higher the number, the lower I'm blanking, the lower on the totem pole it is. So if you have a higher IRQ, the slower the system will get to it. It won't process its requests fast enough, or faster. So you have to pick a high, quote-unquote, IRQ, meaning a smaller number, but you have to pick a low DMA, because if you pick a high DMA, it will have timing issues, and leave the IO address as whatever is configured. I prefer 604, so with the board you have to have these, both blue jumpers. You have to have, I hope it doesn't go sideways. This is better. You have to have both blue jumpers on top of each other and all the way to the left. So on the leftmost two pins, if you're looking at it from front on, meaning system forward. If you're looking at it from the board perspective, they will be the first two pins, not the last two, the first two, these two. Then, after you set the DMA and the IO address properly, and the IRQ, let's cancel, you can exit, and to prove that it works, I have some wave files copied over, and I also have some wave files, and then I have some, we're going to rename this, some MIDI files. Do a rename. Okay, so we're going to pick just one at random. I like this one. If I'm not mistaken, I think this card has FM synth. And this is just wave, this is not a MIDI. Oh, one more thing also, with Windows 3.1 for workgroups, something about startup sounds, that if you have startup sound enabled, it will hang the system. And to disable that, you have to go over to Control Panel and do Sound. And under here, you have to do Windows Start and select it as None. Because even though you can play the sound that's usable for it, the default sound is chimes. But if you have a sound assigned, any sound, and I've tested this, any sound, it could be a Microsoft sound or it could be a third-party wave file, any sound, if it's playing at startup, when it allocates system resources, it will hang the system. So this is what I have accomplished, because last we saw I had to wipe the system and redo everything. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to get a blanking plate for this. It's all white, so it'll look nice. But I've cleaned up the optical, and I need to clean the read heads for these because they're getting an error that I know how to fix. But it's because the read heads are dirty, and I'll do a video on how to repair this. You just have to open the container, the actual drive. You just take the metal shielding off for the 3 1/4. Not 3 1/4, the 3 1/2, which is the top. And then once you're there, you can separate the 5 1/4 from the 3 1/2 section, and then you need to clean the read head, which actually I have one available. I guess I don't have one available. I thought I had one that had already been opened, but I'd have to remove the screws. So, with this guy, let's do some MIDI. Let's pick some MIDIs. Also, with the Gateway System CD, there's some redundancy of files. When you go over to the samples folder, and that has sounds and video, under the sounds you have MIDI and waves. Well, because they wanted to pack the CD and make it look like you're getting a lot, they have the MIDI files repeated twice with just a pitch shift, but the waves are repeated 3 times with, again, a pitch shift. They have ones that are normal, which this is the normal folder, which is actually waves.8, and you have waves.10 and waves.11, I believe. And the 10 and the 11 are pitch shifted upward. The 10 is shifted upward, and the 11 is shifted downward. It's the same files on every single one. This is just another wave I wanted to play with. Okay, so let's play some midis. If you're asking, no, I'm not going to play Canyon. Because everyone's heard it, they know what it sounds like. I'm going to play something I want to listen to. So let's pick... let's pick this guy. There we go. I don't know why I skipped it. It's the same file as the wave, but in MIDI format. Let's see if I can open... Just over to waves again. Use... Interesting thing also. The quick recorder, which is also known as sound recorder, supports 4 types of audio. It supports wave, AIF, SND, and VOC. VOC is the proprietary sound format that is included with Sound Blaster cards as the test format, and also if you use the Sound Blaster software, is what any input or output is recorded as. So let's close, and we'll grab another MIDI to play. But yeah, these MIDIs are the same as the waves. It's just to show, this is to show off the wavetable, and this is to show off the FM Synth MIDI playback. Let's see what midnight is. The FM synth on this and MIDI is fairly good. I'm saying FM synth because I assume it has FM. If I'm wrong, then please tell me, because I'm under the impression it does have FM. What do we have here? So, this is interesting. Gateway provided its own audio player, other than the system one, which is pretty nice. This one actually can play MIDI and wave. So let's go over to sounds and waves, and let's try it with this one. So it's uncompressed, it's 8-bit at 11 hertz. So close. And these are all marked as read-only because they were copied from the CD. Another thing is, with this, let's go over to C drive. I had partitioned and told in BIOS the wrong hard drive size. Even though this is a 2 gigabyte drive, it does not, Windows 3.1, because it uses FAT16, does not support, unless you use a patch, does not support file sizes bigger than about 500 megabytes. And there's also a BIOS limitation with this computer, that it doesn't recognize any drive bigger than about a gigabyte. Let's see, what else can we do? I think we'll listen to some more MIDIs. We're going to go over to C drive. And let's see, what do we have? Okay, so these are the desktop formats. And I'm going to stop this and I'll come back with some more images. We're now copying over the wallpapers. In my opinion, the most stable version of Windows prior to NT, which almost sounds ironic and it's like a oxymoron, but prior to NT would probably be MS-DOS itself, because that's pretty rock solid, and then surprisingly Windows 95, and then 98. Because Windows 3.1 is finicky, because it was their first, well, technically third forte into the graphical user environment. Let's go over to C drive. Let's open up and let's see what we have. See, when you have proper, graphics drivers installed, Windows 3.1 and 3.0 are highly usable. You can view up to 256K, 256 color images. Oh, also, Paintbrush was the predecessor to what we now know as Paint. Since I'm talking about utilities, start with accessories. Here is what Calculator looked like back in 3.1 and 3.0. In 95, they drastically overhauled the interface, and it hasn't changed much since then. And we have our clock, which can be displayed in either digital or analog. It also shows the date at the top. When you select analog, it shows the date in the title bar. If you select digital, it shows the date below, and then just has clock as the title. Then you have card file, which you can record people's addresses and phone numbers. And if you had a modem with capable drivers and features, you could input a number, and then, I don't have any cards, but pretty much you could pick up a card file, a digital one, and you could dial that person using your computer, hook your phone up to it, and then you would be able to technically the computer would use the phone to dial them. You would pick it up when they responded. So your computer could use your phone to call them. And you probably put it on speakerphone, so as you're working, you call them, they, in theory, pick up, and then you can talk to them while you're working on your computer. Here's Notepad, which hasn't changed in the past 22 years. And then we have Write, which is the predecessor to WordPad. Keep in mind at this time we also had Office. What else do we have? Oh, in Startup, I have Clock enabled to Startup and File Manager. Then under Applications, we have the default applications that came with MS-DOS 6.0 and 6.22 plus. I don't know why they're I don't know why it's doubled. I need to fix that. And then we have networking, which is just for setting up network. Sound system, accessories, which we looked at. Then under games, we have solitaire, which hasn't changed since about XP. Minesweeper, y'all know that. Again, it hasn't changed since XP, and then we have hearts. Quit. So yeah, this is the overview of my computer so far, of what I've accomplished. And I think I will end it here and be piecing together this monstrous video, which is probably over an hour long now. And then I'll be doing more restoration. I'll be cleaning this up so then hopefully you'll be able to read stuff. Be fixing this because this makes sort of a rattling noise when you read a disc. And then I'll find a blanking plate for this, put it all together, I test it several times, make sure that nothing's failed. Because I've found that whenever you put the cover back on a computer, something fails. So yeah, this has been Zesty Panda with another retro review. Okay, no, a retro video, not a review. It's more of an overview, actually. So yeah, if you like this, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down if you didn't. If you didn't, or if you have any comments, like actual criticization and opinions, please leave them in the comments, because I want to know what you think. If you have any suggestions, or even just things I can add, like things I could do better, or things I could change, then please give me feedback. I want to know what you want to watch, and what you like and what you don't like, within reason. I was digging around in some old software, and I found something interesting. A copy of Works from 1988. It's Works 2.0. So I put in disk 1, and let's go over to Setup. And we'll do Continue to Install, because it creates a new install. Create a new copy. We're going to do hard disk C, call it Works. We're using a VGA IBM PS2 compatible. And we're going to do graphics mode. Okay, 2 shades of blue, 2 shades of red. We do not have a printer. Okay, we're going to copy it. And we'll just get the other ones prepared. We have 2 of 6, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 6 of 6. I'd first thought I had an incomplete set, because I can only find 1 through 3. Well, I looked over in my software stockpile, over here, I found that inside this portfolio, 2 of these actually, inside these 2, were the setups. Okay, no, inside this big one, and then this one was the other half. Program and accessories. Okay, just get 2 into floppy drive A. It's funny how, and this is a little bit of a history, the ASCII or ASCII image that they're displaying is of an IBM 5150 and later 5 1/4-ish floppy drive, though they scaled it to make it look like a 3 1/4. I mean a 5 1/2. Okay. They made it look like a smaller version of the 5 1/4, but it's a 3 1/2. So we've inserted the next one. Let's do continue. It's now copying the next diskette. Fun fact about early Microsoft protection, like copy protection. When they formatted these diskette drives, they would have what would be called bad sector buffers. That when it goes to look for these, if there isn't intentional bad sectors on a diskette, it will know it's not an original. What they did was, they had 2 blank sectors at the beginning, the good data in between, then 2 bad, 2 blank, then 2 bad. So it goes from 2 empty, like 2 sectors of emptiness, the data in between, and then I think 2 empty sectors, 2 bad sectors, and then 2 empty sectors. And if those empty sectors and bad sectors in the proper order were not copied to a copy, it'll throw up an error saying that it was a pirated copy or it wouldn't even load. So when imaging these, if you have your imaging program, make sure to tick copy blank space and copy bad sectors. There might not be a specific option that says copy bad sectors, but there might be an option called emergency mode, which just copies everything, and it may have in the description ignores bad sectors or copies bad sectors. Pretty much ignoring bad sectors means it'll be copying everything sector by sector, even if it's quote-unquote bad data. Now it's almost finished. There's one diskette left, but we need to tell it what country we're from, so we can use the proper monetary and weight and length conversion. Do you have a mouse? Yes, I have a mouse. Okay. I guess we're going to let it modify it. Now we will insert the last diskette. Keep in mind, this is from 1988. I doubt most of my viewers are that old. Oh. Huh. Okay, I guess it wants a different one. It wants... if I can... Ah, here it is, programs and accessories. Not entirely sure why it wants to go back diskette 2, but okay. Read the okay. Don't forget to send me your registration card. Not exactly sure what diskette 6 of 6 was. Oh, okay. It is the printer drivers. That if you don't have a printer, which I don't have, it won't ask you for it. But since I told them that I had a mouse, it went back and installed the mouse drivers. So we are going to reboot, even though we're in Windows mode. In order to use it in DOS mode, we need to reboot to make sure everything's all nice. So I'll be back when that finishes. Let's just close out of this guy. Close. And then we'll do a reset. I don't know if it's the read head that's making the clicking noise, but whenever it starts spinning a CD, it makes a little click click like something's rotating, like it goes rotating forward and then springs backwards. So we're starting DOS. In order to use these... Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so it installed the mouse. That's nice. Let's check free mem for now. Okay, we currently have 13 megabytes free. That might be a problem with some games. I'll need to change that. So we're going to start up Windows. In order to use this, we need to go over to, let's see, add programs. Control panel. No, I think it's, oh no, here it is. Okay. Setup applications. Search. No, it's not there. So we need to actually, no, we're gonna go back and we are going to create a new group. New program group. We're gonna name it Works. Okay. Program item. Actually, no, cancel. We're going to go back over to options, add. This is 2.0. Let's just Alt-Tab to that. We're going to add another. Tutorial. Okay, and now we should be able to, closing out of this, should be able to run Microsoft Works. New word processor. This is a Word doc created in Microsoft's Works program circa 1988. Oh, that's cute. So we're going to exit and no. So yeah, that is, let's run the tutorial. Okay, there we go. Guess we'll have to do this to continue. Okay, Q to quit. Close this guy. It works down here. So yeah, that is installing and configuring Microsoft Works 2.0 from 1988. So let's just do this one. Have to redetect it. The problem was that I didn't have. Oh. I guess I didn't have the Win32 API installed properly. Here we are with our continuation. The next game which we'll be doing is Stellar Luna. I know, it's incredibly exciting. I'll get to some more exciting stuff later. Plays on your home stereo, meaning it has CD audio. Okay. Just go over to the D drive. Change that to programs. Program/living books. We're going to put it in a subfolder Stella. If it's redundant, then it's fine. And it is my understanding that with these and the Freddy Fish, with the Living Books and the Humongous Entertainment games, that except for the really early on ones, all it did was just copy the exe in a config file, and all the video, all the audio and whatnot, stayed on the CD. So let's just go and install our copy of Quake. It'll be interesting to see how Quake performs on this system. So we need to do the install one. Okay, C drive / programs. then it's going to go and copy everything over, unpack it, all that fun stuff. Oh, I should probably turn the speakers back on. I turned them off when it was getting to become nighttime. This version of Quake was made for Windows 95, even though it includes the MS-DOS executable. It had the Windows front end, which launched it. When I mean Windows, I mean Windows 95, as in Windows 32-bit. Windows 3.11 and 3.0, and subsequent and previous versions of Windows were 16-bit. I'm trying to get this as steady as possible, but it's hard with a phone. I don't know if the screen is crooked, or I'm holding it lopsided, but it looks crooked. I don't know. Well, it's finished. I guess it starts it when I install it. This is Quake 1, if anyone was wondering. This does not have a 3D accelerated card, so Quake is going to suffer. Let's just add Quake to the program manager. New program group. I'm going to name it software. Software. I'm going to go and do options and new program. Name it Quake. Fake. Browse programs. While we're at it, we're going to add some more programs. Doom. Original Doom. C drive programs. I know we only have, okay, Doom, Ultimate Doom is Doom, so I'll just rename it Doom 2. Doom 2, hit OK. New program. Plutonia. Actually, we're gonna name Doom 2 Plutonia. Browse over. Doom 2 TNT. Okay, browse. C drive. Programs. TNT. Okay, we added those. Now for the next game. Hexen. Put in the same subfolder. Yes, we're going to create it. Now let's just go and copy the things over. I should have probably installed Heretic first, because Hexen is the spiritual successor to Heretic. Not Harry Tick, as some people say. It's Heretic, which it was a modified and expanded upon version of the Doom engine. Whilst, no, it was still the same engine. It finished, and here's the README, which we already know about, so let's do Alt-FX. Keyboard and mouse, run that setup. Sound card, Pro Audio Spectrum. Same one, 6. We're going to exit, but save the settings. Okay. We're going to go and create a new program. And name it Hexen. Hexen. Browse to where it is. And then just pop the CD out. Grab the next game, which will be a Scholastic's Magic School Bus. It might have just frozen the computer. That would be funny. A piece of software designed by Microsoft, designed to work with Windows, freezes Windows. Okay, well, let's try this again. D drive. Okay, there we go. Next. It's now just copying the files as it did in the previous one when I installed the other Magic School Bus game. Okay. And quit. Okay, so now check MIDI settings. Okay, compatibility. What is bus stop? I've never seen that before. Oh, it's just the config file. Okay. Interesting. Let's close that guy. And all these games, unless we copy the files to the hard drive, will require you to run them off the CD. Like I said before, the Living Books and the Scholastic's the Living Books and the Scholastic's Entertainment games required you to have the CD-ROM in the drive. Whilst some had limited functionality without the CD, such as Jumpstart Preschool and the early Jumpstart games, they did not have CD audio. Let's check how much space is left on our C drive. Oh, we only have 239 megabytes free. Okay. Once I move the folder, some of these executables may need to be modified so they will work again. Okay, that one installed. Saves the zoo. Okay. Oh, this case is pretty battered. Some of these I did get used because I had them originally, but... Well, I had them originally, but I didn't, well, I got rid of them. But then I rebought them, because nostalgia. And exit. Okay. Next game. Puppet goes to the moon. Some MS-DOS games have performance issues while running in Windows. So for some games you just need to exit out of the Windows session and run them in pure DOS. I guess this one doesn't install. If I can't run it from Windows, I might as well just copy the files over. I may have to modify the ini file, but I'll do that later. Now it's finished. We can go over to the C drive, Humongous Entertainment, Pup Moon. And our next game will be Duke Nukem 3D. I should have left that case open. I don't know why some people say that older PCs are difficult to work on. I mean, maybe it's hard to find software, but I don't know, it just seems to work for me. I mean, I had to figure out the sound card issue, but besides that, okay, hold on. I forgot that that command line, that text box wasn't dynamically configurable or allocated, or whatever they call it. Or whatever you type in, it erases whatever was there before. So I just changed it to C/program/Duke3D. I think sometime later on I'll find an ISA card to put in here. I want something that's 3D accelerated, so maybe a Voodoo. So now it was copying the Duke3D.grp, which is the group file, or how well, just the thing that. So I created a program group. Close out of that guy. And we can exit. And we're getting in the home stretch. There's only a few left. I'll just bring them up now. Here's what we have left: Rise of the Triad, Heretic, and some other games. So we'll put this guy in there. You know the drill, D drive, blah blah. Let's put it in an Apogee folder. So now we're copying it over. We'll just add it. New group. Grr. Apogee. New file. Rise of the Triad. Browse, Programs, Apogee. Okay. Next guy, eject that. I decided to put some of the other games away so they won't get scratched. Now I have a Heretic in the... Heretic Shadow of the Serpent Riders installed. What this is the bundling of a sold separately expansion pack. Heretic was the base game, and Shadow of the Serpent Riders was an expansion that added some extra levels to Heretic that was available either through I'm blanking, trying to remember. It was available through it was available through either id Software or Raven Software Publishing, and sold by GT Interactive. And you could buy the expansion pack, Shadow of the Serpent Riders, or you could buy the combined version, which is what I have here, which is the base game Heretic, including the expansion. So if you have Heretic installed already, this is sort of redundant. I'm going to add this also. Find id Software. Okay, so we've added, I want to check, let's see. Had to restart the computer, I guess it got all bogged down. Okay, yeah, we installed that, so now on to the next game. And some little back information about this. Heretic, as I was saying, was only available through direct ordering from id. Then GT Interactive decided to bundle Heretic and the expansion pack. That's how you could buy it in disc form from a retailer, being like a store, and not just directly from id Software. And now another Apogee game, Rise of the Triad, A Dark War. I guess this one had to be installed from DOS mode. Okay, install. Okay, install it into the Apogee folder. I'll just be copying things over. Booted back into Windows. We can then add it to the programs. War. Unless it overwrote the... Let's see. So I don't know if it overwrote the files. We'll have to go and exit out of Windows. Yeah, I'll probably have to reinstall this guy because I think I overwrote the files. So yeah, on to our next program, Hexen 2, which might be where this ends, because Hexen 2 was developed for Windows 95, I think. So I don't know if the Win32 extender will work with Hexen. I hope it does. Ow. D drive, directory, set up. Well, so much for that. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. So much for that. Oh well. So this has been an extremely long video, and I'll either break them up into chunks, or continue filming some more and then upload a really long video. So yeah, this has been Zesty Panda with another review. If you like this, thumbs up, thumbs down if you didn't. Add comments, suggestions, information, anything. Share, favorite, all that fun stuff. It may seem counterintuitive, but even though the Ustat drive is torn down even farther, it actually has had some work done to it. Previously, when I had it installed, it had trouble reading any distets. But I took it apart. I'll turn it on. Took it apart, and I went and I cleaned the read head of it, both parts, the top and bottom. The top and the bottom down there. And now, if I can find a piece of software, let's use Works. So I'll just get this set up. Here we are with the 5 1/4 copy of Works. We'll just pop it into the drive. So with the diskette inserted, as we can see, we'll just navigate over to our B drive. Here it is. And to further prove my point, we will run setup. And as you can see, it runs setup. We're not going to install it because it's already installed, but you can see right there that the 5 1/4 drive is fixed. I just popped the top off the 3.5-inch drive, and there's a little bit of rust from moisture, but looks okay. I already blew the dust out, but there were some scraps of paper from what looked like a floppy disk label that had gotten stuck. So the next thing to do is to go and clean the floppy read head. It's part of this assembly down there with some isopropyl alcohol. The last and final part we'll be working on is trying not to tip over the case. No, is the CD-ROM. And in order to first work on it, we need to eject the tray. To eject the tray, you need to take a paper clip and then just unfold the paper clip. Once you have it relatively straight, most optical drives have a manual eject button on the front, a hole that is. You slip it in there, and then just pop it open. Now, we can proceed with unscrewing it. The reason why we did that was because even once we get the top off, we will have to move this over. We'll have to pull the plastic off, or at least shift the plastic. But we can't get this part out until we eject the tray because the front fascia is wider than the tray itself. So this part won't be able to slide over the fascia unless it's ejected. So you're gonna unscrew these 4 screws with the proper screwdriver. After you've removed all 4 screws, you can then proceed to lift the bottom upward. There will be some interference with the plastic, but it should lift off like that. And then we want to actually flip our unit all the way over, because we will be cleaning the optical section of it. It may take some wiggling to clear it. It's finally done. I don't know what I'm going to do after this is finished, but the Gateway 2000 is finally restored and cleaned up and put together. And to prove that everything works, I've created a semi-demo just to show the peripherals. So we will first start with our A drive floppy, 3.5. Okay. As you can see, it was reading it, and it's done a directory listing. Now let's go to the 5.25. Press any key to continue. It's reading it, and it's done a directory. And now we'll do the CD-ROM. See, it's reading from it. We've gotten a directory. And then finally, we just are back on the C drive. Oh, and also here's the version of DOS that's installed. So yeah, I'm going to piece together this video and upload it sometime soon. It'll take a long time to edit.